Hello, class. Uh, Before we get started on Camille Paglia's essay, what I would like to do is share with you some pages that popped up when I Googled her name, right? We'll go to the Wikipedia page in a second here, but you'll notice she's a professor at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania since 1984. And the first, after the Wikipedia page, UA Arts students want Camille Paglia gone. The Dark Woman, Camille Paglia on her controversial feminism. So you can see that she is very controversial. And when you go to her Wikipedia page, right, I'm going to play for you this word so I pronounce it correctly. Opprobrium, the disgrace or reproach occurred by the conduct considered outrageously shameful. Many feminists have criticized Paglia. Christina Hoff Sommers calls her perhaps the most conspicuous target of feminist opprobrium, noting that the Women's Review of Books described her Camille Paglia's book Sexual Personae as patriarchy's counter assault on feminism. Some feminist critics have characterized Paglia as an anti-feminist feminist. Critics of central features of much contemporary feminism, but holding out that her own special variety of feminist affirmation. Um, and then you could see Gloria Steinem said of Paglia, her calling herself a feminist is sort of like a Nazi saying they're not anti-Semitic. Wow. Paglia called Steinem the Stalin of feminism. Katha Pollitt called Paglia one of seemingly endless parade of social critics who have achieved celebrity by portraying not sexism, but feminism as the problem. Pollitt writes that Paglia has glorified male dominance, and she's been able to get away with things that might make even Rush Limbaugh blanch because she is a woman. So, wow, controversial indeed. In her document, right, which appeared in the San Francisco, she's a cultural critic, I believe it appeared right from the San Francisco Examiner on date rape. She means well in that she is trying to warn females about the dangers of uh, going out with someone you know, right? Because again, to put to give some background, um, it, date rape was not considered a crime at first. I don't know if well, most of you won't remember, but there was all sorts of trials when I was growing up. I'm 45, so I remember when I was like 10 or 11, because I grew up in New Jersey. There was a lot of famous cases where date rape was an issue, but it hadn't actually been established yet. Because people would say, well, how can you be raped if you know the person, which is absolutely absurd. So what Camille Paglia is trying to do is to warn women about how it can happen if you know someone. It doesn't just happen from people you don't know, but they have to have their guard up. So although she means well, this is a classic example of it's not what you say, but how you say it sometimes. And notice the use of fallacious appeals as she tries to get her message across. Now, again, her message is one to help women be safe, but the way she says it, right? It says to illustrate a less critical reader that published arguments written by established professionals are not necessarily free of fallacious reasoning. So she kind of opens with the idea of the double standard. But then she look at paragraph 2. Today, these young women want the freedom that we won, but they don't want to acknowledge the risk. That's the problem. The minute you go out with a man, the minute you go to a bar to have a drink, there's a risk. You have to accept the fact that part of the sizzle of sex comes from the danger of sex. You can be overpowered. So loaded question. You have to accept the fact poisoning the well. She's got the appeal to fear in here. Definitely, today these young women want the freedoms that we want, but they don't want to acknowledge the risk. Is that a straw man? I think it could be. And perhaps the whole paragraph, the ending here is kind of a red herring and a slippery slope. Right? I mean, this paragraph, look at all the possible fallacies. So it is a woman's personal responsibility to be aware of the dangers of the world. But these young feminists today are deluded. They come from a protected white middle class world and they expect everything to be safe. Personal attack, hasty generalization, straw man. Notice how it's rarely Black or Hispanic women who are making a fuss about this in the media or on campus. Hello, hasty generalization, double standard. Right? They come from cultures that are fully sexual and they are fully realistic about the dangers of life. But many of these other women are nice, genteel, sexually repressed white girls coming out of pampered homes. And when they arrive at college and suddenly hit raw male lust, they go, oh no, definitely personal attacks. These girls say, right, I think we have straw man, false analogy. I should be able to get drunk at a fraternity party and go upstairs to a guy's room without anything happening. And I say, oh, really? Are you ready for the false analogy? And when you drive your car to New York City, do you leave your keys on the hood? My point is that if your car is stolen after you do something like that, yes, the police should pursue the thief and he should be punished. But at the same time, the police and I have the right to say to you, you stupid idiot, what the hell were you thinking? Um, Again, wow. Wow. Um, so let's just minimize this a touch. Wow, what a false analogy. Um, and she's also claiming false authority. Now, here, I mean, wake up to reality. Poisoning the well. This is male sex. Guess what? It's hot. Male sex is hot. There's an attraction between the sexes we're not totally in control of, right? Begging the question. It's hot because it's hot. The idea that we can regulate it by passing campus grievance committee rules is madness, snob appeal. My kind of feminism, right? False authority stresses personal responsibility. Now, see the false cause here? See the post hoc? I've never been raped, but I've been very vigilant. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who have been raped who have also been vigilant. So just because she's been vigilant doesn't necessarily mean she's avoided assault, sexual assault, and rape, right? I'm constantly reading the signals. If I ever got into a dating situation where I was overpowered and raped, I would say, oh, well, I misread the signals, but I don't think I would ever press charges. Again, let's go back to what some feminists have said about uh, Paglia, right? And here it is. Paglia's view that rape is sexually motivated has been endorsed by evolutionary psychologists, and they comment that Paglia urges women to be skeptical towards the feminist party line on the subject, to become better informed about risk factors, and to use the information to lower the risk of rape. So her intentions are good, but notice the many fallacious arguments that at times are hurtful and, quite frankly, personal attacks that could be described almost as mean. And the last thing, if you're interested more in Paglia, she wrote an essay criticizing the Girl Squads in 2015. And again, I think her heart is in the right place, and that she's trying to help female kind of self-esteem in some ways, right? She argued that rather than empowering women, the cliquish practice actually harms the self-esteem of those who aren't rich, famous, or attractive enough to belong to the group, while further defining women only by a very now often sexualized stereotype. She challenged that to be truly empowering, these groups need to mentor, advise, and be more inclusive for more women to realize their true individual potential. So again, it's very interesting to note how even a professional and well-respected writer might find themselves using fallacies, whether it was intended or not. But we can see how the effect of fallacious arguments often may take a well-intentioned and logical argument and distort the purpose, and unfortunately be off-putting and offending, as I feel her essay on date rape is at times. So that being said, thanks for watching and listening. A very delicate subject, but again, a part of our culture. And I think that the last thing I'll say, right, is although she is well-intentioned, right, we see that unfortunately fallacies can take away from the logical power of an argument. Thanks for watching and listening, and let me know if you have any questions.